Episode 1: The Night That Wouldn't Die. I woke up to the sound of laughter. Children's laughter, the kind that used to make me smile before I realized it never stopped. It was Halloween. Again. The calendar on my phone glowed October 31st, just like yesterday, and the day before that, and every day for the past 42 mornings. The jack-o'-lantern on my porch still flickered, the same candle burning, the same crooked grin carved by trembling hands 15 years ago. I opened my curtains, and the street outside was already alive with costumes. Witches, clowns, fake blood, the same loop of color and sound. But no one seemed tired. No one asked why it was still Halloween. They just lived it, as if time itself had been hypnotized. At first, I thought it was grief. Maybe my mind was broken. After all, my parents and sister died on this night when I was 12. The fire took everything. I thought maybe I'd never healed. But then I noticed something strange. The pumpkins didn't rot. The candy bowls never emptied. And when I smashed a pumpkin to prove to myself I wasn't crazy, I found something inside. It wasn't seeds. It was teeth. That's when I started recording. Each night, at exactly 11:59 p.m., the air would shift like the world inhaled and forgot to exhale. The wind would stop. The lights would flicker. And just before midnight, I'd hear footsteps outside my window. They always stopped right at the door. At first, I didn't open it. I told myself it was a trick-or-treater. But tonight, I couldn't ignore it anymore. The knock came. 3 slow taps. I opened the door. No one stood there, only a mirror, tall and old, leaning against the porch rail like it had been waiting for me. My reflection stared back, eyes wide, jaw trembling. But then, my reflection smiled first. I stumbled backward. The mirror began to pulse with faint orange light, the same hue as the fire that destroyed my house 15 years ago. The air smelled of burnt wood and candy corn. Then, through the glass, I saw something moving behind me, inside the reflection but not in reality. A shape. A shadow. Wearing my father's coat. It whispered something. For words that made my blood freeze. "You promised, Eli Turner." Before I could breathe, the lights cut out. When they flickered back, I was standing in front of my old home, the one that burned down, but it wasn't ashes anymore. It was whole again. The windows glowed with warm orange light, and the front door creaked open by itself. From inside came my sister's voice. Soft. "Come back inside, Eli. It's almost midnight." I should have run. I should have screamed. But I didn't. Because deep down, I already knew the truth. The fire never ended. Halloween never ended. And neither did I. They say the human face can hide anything: fear, guilt, even death. But what I saw on the morning after that night wasn't human anymore. When I woke, the mirror from my porch was gone. The porch itself was spotless, as if it had never stood there. Only a faint smear of soot remained, shaped like a handprint. Mine. I tried to convince myself it was a dream. That maybe I'd fallen asleep drunk or grieving again. But outside, the town of Grey Ridge was already alive, children in costumes, adults laughing, the same tired decorations fluttering in the same wind. Only this time, the laughter sounded wrong. I walked toward Main Street. Every step echoed louder than it should. And as I passed the candy shop, I saw something that made my stomach turn. The shopkeeper, Mrs. Doyle, she'd been selling sweets here since I was a kid. She smiled as I approached. But the corners of her mouth didn't stop. Her grin stretched too far, skin cracking at the edges. Her teeth gleamed wet, too many rows. And her eyes, they didn't blink. "Happy Halloween, Eli," she said, her voice too calm. "It's your favorite day." I asked her what day it was. She tilted her head, smile still locked in place. "It's Halloween. Always Halloween. Aren't you happy?" Behind her, a shelf of candy corn pulsed, faintly breathing. I stumbled out into the street. People passed me in waves of orange and black, faces hidden behind masks, clowns, vampires, scarecrows, all frozen smiles. I realized then that I hadn't seen a single unmasked face all morning. So I called out, "Why are you still wearing those?" "It's the same day." They stopped walking. All of them. At once. The sound of wind vanished. The laughter died. And one by one, they turned toward me, heads jerking in unnatural unison. Then a man in a cracked skeleton mask stepped forward. "You shouldn't say that," he whispered. His voice was muffled, like someone speaking through water. "Say what?" I asked. "That it's the same day. You make it remember when you do." I took a step back. His mask had begun to twitch, pulsing like flesh. He raised a shaking hand and touched his jawline. The edge of the mask fused to his skin, melting, becoming part of his face. When he tried to tear it off, he screamed, and I saw muscle underneath. Real blood. The others didn't help him. They just watched. Something deep inside me broke. I ran. Past the parade floats, past the carved pumpkins, until I reached the old post office, one place that always seemed empty. Inside, it was dark. Silent. But on the wall, someone had pinned hundreds of photographs. Every picture showed the same street, the same people, the same Halloween over and over again. And in every photo, there I was. Same clothes. Same expression. Only in the most recent one, the one dated October 31st, 2023, I wasn't wearing a face at all. The glass from the photo frame began to crack, thin lines spreading like veins. From somewhere behind me, a child's voice whispered, "Don't look at them, Eli. They wear what you burned." I turned, but there was no one there. Only a single mask on the floor, a blank white face with my own eyes staring back through it. Episode 3, the tape from 2008. There are sounds that never leave you. The crackle of fire. The scream that cuts before the words. But for me, it was the laughter, my sister's, recorded on cheap plastic film, trapped inside a tape I should have burned 15 years ago. That morning, I found the VHS in my mailbox. No note. No sender. Just a faded label written in red marker. Halloween, home video 2008. My family died that year. And we didn't even own a camera. The tape was warm when I held it, like it had been sitting on someone's skin. I dusted off my old VCR, plugged it in, and let the static fill the room. I almost wished it hadn't worked. The screen flickered, my old living room appeared, perfectly intact. My mother was carving pumpkins. My father stood by the window, pretending to be scary. My sister, Lily, danced around in a witch costume too big for her. She looked 7 again. So alive. But then something caught my eye. The camera wasn't on a tripod. It was moving. Breathing. Following them. I don't remember anyone filming that night. And yet there it was, the subtle shake of someone holding the camera. When the lens turned toward the staircase, I saw me. A younger version, sitting on the steps, staring right into the lens. I whispered along with him, because I remembered that moment too well. Who's holding the camera? The image flickered. My father looked up and smiled directly into the lens, though his eyes didn't match his grin. He said something that froze my blood. "You are Eli." You always have been. The tape jumped, static, distortion, screams. Then I saw flames reflected in the TV glass. The house burning. Lily crying. And the voice of whoever held the camera whispering, calm and steady. Don't look away. You promised you'd watch. I tried to eject the tape. It wouldn't budge. The picture twisted again. Now I stood in the frame, adult me, standing in the ashes of the same room, holding the same camera. Behind me, through the smoke, something began to move. A silhouette. Tall. Wearing my father's coat. He stepped closer to the camera. I could see the burns across his face, deep, blackened lines carved like smiles. His mouth opened. You kept the loop, son. You kept us warm. The TV hissed, then burst into static, but the reflection didn't fade. The man was still there, standing behind me. I turned. Nothing. Only the smell of smoke. But when I looked back, the screen showed my living room again, present day. Only this time, it wasn't on tape. It was live. And on the bottom of the screen, a timestamp appeared. Oct 31st, 11:57 p.m. Someone was filming me right now. I unplugged the TV, but the screen stayed on. The static formed into words, carved in glowing white lines. See you when it repeats. That was when I realized the worst part. The tape didn't come from the past. It came from tomorrow's Halloween. Episode 4, The Pumpkin That Bled. The next morning, I woke to the smell of iron. Not coffee. Not ash. Blood. At first, I thought it was another hallucination from the sleepless nights, another trick of this cursed October air that never changed temperature. But when I stepped outside, I realized the scent came from everywhere. The town square was covered in pumpkins, hundreds of them, far more than I remembered. Each one carved differently, faces warped in grotesque expressions, grins too wide, eyes dripping candle wax like tears. But what made my stomach twist wasn't the sight. It was the sound. They were breathing. A faint, rhythmic pulse, air moving in and out, like lungs. The closer I got, the louder it became, until I swore the pumpkins' mouths were opening and closing with every breath. I bent down to touch one. The skin was warm, almost feverish. When I pressed harder, it shuddered. And then, with a soft, wet crack, something inside moved. I stumbled back, heart hammering. I needed proof. So I went home, grabbed a knife, and returned to the largest one in the square. It had a childlike face, lopsided smile, round eyes. I told myself it was just plant matter, just my imagination. Then I drove the blade in. The pumpkin screamed. Not a squeal. A human scream, raw, guttural, pleading. Dark liquid sprayed across my shirt. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I fell backward, my hands trembling as the pumpkin convulsed. When it finally split open, I saw it. Not seeds. Not pulp. A heart, small, pink, still beating. I dropped the knife. People around me had stopped to watch. Only, they weren't shocked. They just stood there, staring with their hollow Halloween masks, motionless. A child in a clown costume whispered, "Don't hurt them. They're what's left of us." Before I could speak, something moved beneath the soil, slow, massive, like roots spreading under the cobblestones. I felt the vibration through my boots, heard the whisper rise again, this time from dozens of throats. "Don't let it die. The harvest keeps us." I ran. When I reached my house, I could still hear the heartbeat, faint, echoing through the ground. My hands were shaking, still sticky with blood. I washed them, but the smell wouldn't go away. That's when I noticed the newspaper on my doorstep. Today's date, October 31st. Again. The headline made me freeze. Local hero replants harvest after tragedy. Eli Turner thanked for his sacrifice. My picture was on the front page, smiling, holding a pumpkin. The same one I just cut open. And under the photo, a line of text that wasn't printed in ink, but carved into the paper itself. When you break them, they grow back stronger. I dropped the newspaper. From outside, I heard the children's laughter again, higher, sharper, wet. I looked through the window. The pumpkins were gone. But something else had taken their place. Small mounds of earth. And from each one, a hand was growing. Episode 5, The Church Without Dawn. There are buildings that shouldn't exist anymore, places too stubborn to die. In Greyridge, that place is St. Bartholomew's Church. It's been abandoned since the fire. Everyone knows that. Yet this morning, the bells rang. I heard them before sunrise, except there was no sunrise. There hasn't been one in weeks. Just the same bruised orange sky, the same cold air that tastes like candle wax and ash. But the bells, they sounded real. Hollow, cracked, dragging across the air like rusted chains. I followed the sound through the fog until the steeple appeared blackened, leaning, its cross twisted sideways. The heavy wooden doors stood half open. Inside, the pews were covered in dust, but there were footprints, dozens of them, leading to the altar. The altar cloth was gone, replaced by a sheet of parchment nailed into the wood. I brushed the dust away. Words appeared, written in blood that had long since dried. At 11:59, he opens the gate. At 12 o'clock, the world must burn again. Behind the altar stood a row of clocks. Hundreds. All shapes, all sizes, wall clocks, pocket watches, digital ones cracked open like insects. Every single one frozen at 11:59. And in the middle of them, a single candle burned, untouched by time. Beside it, a figure knelt. He wore a tattered priest's robe, his head bowed. When I stepped closer, he whispered before I could speak. I told them it was mercy. But mercy rots, Eli. It always rots. His voice was dry, ancient. When he lifted his head, I recognized him. Father Quinn. The priest who had buried my family. But he should have been dead for 15 years. You shouldn't be here, I said. He smiled, or tried to. None of us should. You finished what I started. That's why it never ends. He pointed toward the clocks. Do you know what time is, my son? I stayed silent. It's the wound of creation, he rasped. And on the night of the fire, you sealed it shut. He lifted his hand, the skin stretched thin and translucent, and showed me a brand burned into his palm. A pumpkin carved inside a circle. The same mark I'd seen glowing on my own reflection. You brought them offerings, he said. You made the pact. I was 12. I shouted. I didn't make anything. His eyes burned with pity, or maybe hate. You asked to bring them back. And the hollow answered. It gave you your wish, one endless night. One endless Halloween. He rose, unsteady, and walked to the wall behind the altar. He pressed his hand against the stone. It cracked open like skin, revealing something pulsing underneath, flesh instead of brick. Everything you see, he whispered, is built on what we fed it. Flesh for peace. Blood for time. I backed away as the candles flickered out. The clocks began to tick, all of them, slowly turning from 11:59 toward 12 o'clock. The priest screamed. His body convulsed, veins bulging with black light. If it reaches midnight, he gasped, we burn again. I grabbed one of the clocks, smashed it against the floor. The hands snapped and the others stopped ticking. Silence. Father Quinn fell to his knees. The church trembled. From the cracks in the wall, I saw eyes opening, hundreds of them watching me. "Go," he whispered, voice breaking. "Before it remembers who you are." I ran. Outside, the fog had thickened, glowing faintly orange, like fire waiting to breathe again. When I looked back, the church was gone. Only the sound of ticking followed me home. And on my wrist, a new mark was forming, the hands of a clock etched into my skin, both pointing to 11:59. Episode 6, The Boy with My Voice. There's a sound worse than screams. It's your own voice when it doesn't belong to you. That night, I couldn't sleep. The clocks had stopped ticking, but their silence felt louder. The mark on my wrist throbbed like a heartbeat I didn't own. Outside, the wind whispered through dry leaves, carrying faint laughter, children's laughter, looping endlessly like a broken song. At exactly 11:57 p.m., the power flickered. And I heard it. My voice. It came from the backyard, faint, trembling, but unmistakable. "Mom! Dad, please, wake up." My stomach dropped. Those were the same words I'd screamed the night of the fire. Words that burned into memory like smoke on lungs. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped outside. The air was still, unnaturally still. I followed the sound to the edge of the yard, where the old swing set stood rusted, half buried in soil. The beam of light caught movement. Someone sat there. Small. Barefoot. Shoulders shaking. "Hey," I whispered. The boy turned. My throat closed. It was me. Not just a resemblance, every detail was exact. The scar above the eyebrow, the chipped tooth, the trembling lip. And when he spoke, it was my voice. The same tone. The same cracks. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. I couldn't move. "What is this? Who are you?" He looked at me, eyes hollow with something ancient. "I'm the part you left behind." The swing creaked as he rose. The ground beneath his feet was blackened, like burnt earth. "I waited for you to come back," he said. "You promised you would." "I don't remember." "You do," he interrupted. His expression twisted, part child, part something else. "You remember the night you said you'd trade anything to stop them from dying?" The flashlight flickered. For an instant, his face changed, not burned, but split, like two masks stitched together. His eyes glowed faint orange, reflecting the fire that wasn't there. "I heard you," he whispered. "When you made the wish. You said, let it always be Halloween. Let them never die." My chest tightened. No. That couldn't be true. He stepped closer, shadows rippling around him like smoke alive. "So it listened. It gave us forever. You got your family back, but you never let them rest." Behind him, I saw movement, silhouettes in the dark. Figures of my parents. My sister. Their faces hidden behind pumpkin masks that wept blood. They stood still, watching. I took a step back. How do I stop it? The boy tilted his head. "You don't. You already did." "What do you mean?" He smiled, a child's smile stretched too wide. "You're not the real one anymore. You burned." The ground split beneath the swing. Flames flickered below, silent, weightless. He pointed at me with a trembling hand. "You're the echo, Eli. The fire's memory of itself." The flashlight shattered. Everything went dark. When I woke, it was morning again. Halloween. The swing set was gone. But footprints remained, small, charred, leading toward the house. On my porch, I found a pumpkin carved with a child's face. Inside it, a tape recorder. When I pressed play, I heard my own voice as a boy, whispering, "You said forever." Episode 7, The Uninvited Guest. I used to think the worst part of fear was the not knowing. But now I understand, the worst part is when you do know, and it still keeps coming back. For days, I couldn't stop thinking about the boy on the swing, the version of me that shouldn't exist. His words replayed like static in my skull, "You're the echo, Eli." If that was true, then what was I? A ghost? A shadow wearing my own skin? I needed proof. I needed to see what happened while I slept. So, I set up cameras, 4 of them. One facing the front door. One in the hallway. One in the living room. And one by my bedroom door. I left them recording overnight. Just before midnight, I sat in bed, staring at the glowing red light on the camera across the room. It was 11:56. Outside, the wind stopped. Then came the knock. 3 slow, hollow taps. Same as the first night. I didn't move. I just watched the door through the camera's lens, forcing myself to stay still. 11:57. The front door creaked open. From my phone's live feed, I saw it, a figure stepping inside. Tall. Hooded. Its shadow bent unnaturally, stretching along the walls like spilled ink. Every step it took made the lights flicker, as if the house was trying to breathe around it. I whispered to myself, "Who are you?" The figure froze, as though it had heard me through the screen. Slowly, it turned its head toward the camera. There was no face. Only a void where features should have been. Then it whispered back, my own voice, distorted and hollow. "Stay asleep. You promised." The feed cut to static. When I woke the next morning, I wasn't in bed. I was on the porch. The front door wide open. The camera's gone. I searched the house. Every room felt smaller than before, the walls pulsing faintly like they were alive. Then, I noticed something new, a trail of muddy footprints leading from the front door to the basement. They weren't mine. I hadn't been down there since before the fire. But something in me knew this was where it had begun. The stairs creaked beneath my weight, the air thick with mold and something sweeter, something rotten. At the bottom, I found a single camera, the one from my bedroom, sitting on the concrete floor, still recording. The red light blinked. I pressed play. At first, the footage was empty. Just the sound of faint breathing. Then, at 11:57, the hooded figure appeared again. It entered the room, walked toward my sleeping body, and leaned close. Its hand, pale, shaking, reached out and touched my face. And as it did, something horrifying happened. My body in the video smiled. Not a dream smile. Not human. It was wide, cold, practiced. The figure whispered, "Good. You remember now." Then it lifted the hood and I saw my own face staring back at me. Burned, half-melted, grinning. The footage ended. When I looked up from the camera, I wasn't alone. Someone stood in the corner of the basement, same height, same build. I didn't move. I couldn't. The figure smiled through the darkness. "I told you to stay asleep." The light bulb flickered, then burst. Darkness swallowed everything. And from somewhere just beside my ear, I heard myself whisper, "Now switch." Episode 8, The Neighbors Who Never Aged. By now, I'd stopped pretending the town was normal. The pumpkins bled. The dead walked. And somewhere beneath it all, something waited for me to remember what I'd done. But what broke me wasn't the ghosts or the fire, it was the people who smiled like time had forgotten them. It started with Mrs. Doyle, the candy shop owner. I passed her store again that morning. She was sweeping the same spot on the sidewalk, her movements looping like a bad recording. "Morning, Eli," she chirped. Her voice hadn't changed, not in 15 years. Behind her, a photo hung on the wall. Grand opening, 1983. She looked exactly the same. Later, at the town square, I saw Mr. Haver, the postman. His uniform was spotless, pressed like always. He tipped his hat. "Lovely day, isn't it? Can't beat October weather." I asked him how long he'd been delivering mail. He paused, eyes flickering, just once, before smiling again. "As long as the town's been standing," he said. "And longer, maybe." That's when I noticed his hand. The skin beneath his sleeve wasn't skin anymore, it was wax, melting slightly in the morning light. The horror wasn't that they hadn't aged. It was that they were trying to remember how. I went to the library, desperate for proof, something written, dated, real. Inside, everything was frozen in dust. Old typewriters. Books bound in leather. The air smelled like rotten glue. In the archives, I found the town records. Birth certificates. Deaths. Except, there were no deaths. Not one. Only renewals. Every few years, the same names reappeared, same ages, same signatures, repeating like a pattern. And then I found mine. Eli Turner. Born October 31st, 1996. Renewed every year. My heart pounded. Underneath, in faint handwriting, someone had added. Subject stable. Loop sustained. Footsteps echoed behind me. I turned, and there she was. Mrs. Doyle again. Only this time her smile was gone. Her eyes glistened with something that looked like fear. "You shouldn't be down here, dear," she said softly. "The records aren't meant for the living." I took a step back. "What are you?" Her jaw trembled, her voice cracking like static. "We were meant to be memories. But you kept remembering too hard." As she spoke, her skin began to peel away, wax dripping off in sheets, revealing a pale, clay-like figure beneath, hollow, sculpted, almost human. "You wanted your town back," she whispered. "So you painted us from the fire. You made us stay." I froze. Because behind her, every photograph on the wall began to change, smiles fading, eyes blackening, faces melting into blank, waxy masks. I ran out of the library, into the sunlight, if it could be called that. The whole town was watching me now. Every neighbor, every friend, lined up along the streets. All smiling. All still. Their eyes followed me in perfect unison. I shouted, "What do you want from me?" And 100 voices answered, layered, identical. "Don't let the clock strike 12. The ground beneath me shuddered. The air warped with heat. And in every window, I saw my reflection staring back, not me now, but me 15 years ago, smiling through the flames. When I blinked, the crowd was gone. Only one person remained, a man in a burnt postman's uniform, holding a letter. He handed it to me without a word and walked away. The envelope was blank except for one line written in red ink. "Delivered to yourself, tomorrow." I opened it. Inside, a single photo, the town square, covered in pumpkins. And standing in the middle, me, holding a match. Episode 9, The Harvest Parade. It was morning again. Halloween. Always Halloween. But this time, the air felt different, heavier, charged, like the town was holding its breath. The letter I'd found last night still sat on my desk, the photo inside staring back at me holding a match. And outside, faint music drifted through the fog, the kind that sounds cheerful until you really listen. The Harvest Parade. Grey Ridge's oldest tradition. Every year, they said, the parade honored the harvest that saved the town. But now I wondered, what harvest? I followed the music through the empty streets until I reached Main Avenue. The fog parted like a curtain. There they were, floats rolling down the cracked asphalt, decked with orange ribbons and black lace. People waved from them, their faces hidden behind masks carved from pumpkins and porcelain. Children danced in circles, their movements too precise, too rehearsed. The smell of rotten sugar filled the air. At first, it almost looked beautiful, a perfect autumn nightmare. But then, I noticed something strange, the floats weren't being driven. They moved on their own, wheels grinding against the pavement. And the people waving, their hands were stitched at the wrists. I stepped closer, heart pounding. One float passed right by me, a giant wooden stage with mannequins dressed as townsfolk. But when I looked closer, I saw that beneath their masks, their eyes were real. They blinked. They followed me. Someone grabbed my arm. It was Mr. Haver, the postman, or what was left of him. His uniform was torn, skin hanging loose around his jaw like wet paper. Yet he smiled, cheerful as ever. "You made it just in time," he said. "For what?" I asked. "The renewal." He gestured toward the largest float, the one shaped like a massive pumpkin. Its shell pulsed like it had veins. Inside, shadows moved, squirming. "Tonight we feed the hollow," he said softly, almost lovingly. "And it feeds us back." A choir of voices rose, men, women, children, all chanting something low and rhythmic. Round and round, the harvest goes. Bleed the roots, and time still flows. The street began to tremble. The floats creaked as something underneath the road moved, alive, breathing. The cracks in the asphalt split open, and from them came black vines slick with blood. People cheered. I ran. Through the crowd of grinning masks, through the fog thick with decay. I turned a corner and slammed into someone, a little girl holding a pumpkin doll. She looked up at me with wide eyes. "Don't run, mister. You're supposed to be on the last float." "What do you mean?" I asked. She smiled sweetly. The fire won. Behind her, the parade had turned. The last float was coming into view, a towering pyre of wood and straw, flames already licking its edges. And nailed to the top was a sign. The sacrifice that saved Grey Ridge. There was a figure tied to the post, slumped forward, smoke curling from its hair. I stepped closer. My stomach turned to stone. It was me. Same clothes. Same burn on the wrist. Same expression, frozen mid-scream. The crowd erupted in cheers. "Renew him! Renew him!" they roared. I stumbled back, dizzy, choking on smoke that shouldn't have been there. And over the crackle of fire, I heard the faintest whisper, the same one that haunted my dreams. "You said forever." The flames rose higher. The faces in the crowd began to melt, masks fusing to flesh. And just before the world went white, I realized the fire wasn't consuming the effigy. It was rebuilding it. Episode 10, The Fire That Feeds. Fire has a memory. That's what my father used to say. Every flame remembers the hand that lit it. I didn't understand him then. Now I do. Because the fire of Grey Ridge never forgot me. When I woke up, my throat was raw, like I'd been breathing smoke. The curtains were black with ash that hadn't been there before. My clothes smelled burnt. And on the table beside me lay a matchbox. It was old, half-melted, stamped with the same words from the parade's final float. The sacrifice that saved Greyridge. Inside, only one match remained. And beneath it, someone had written on the cardboard, "Use it when the clock stops." Outside, the town was quiet. Too quiet. The fog hung heavier than usual, glowing orange from an invisible light source above, like the sky itself was smoldering. I walked to Main Street. No parade. No people. Just black streaks on the ground, like something had been dragged through the ash. The smell of burnt sugar still lingered. Then I heard it, faint, rhythmic. A heartbeat. It came from the ground, pulsing through the pavement beneath my feet. Every beat made the air shimmer, like heat rising off invisible flames. I followed the sound until I reached the old firehouse, the place where it all began. The doors stood open, and inside, a furnace glowed red-hot, roaring like a beast. Chains hung from the ceiling, blackened and twisted. Above the furnace, a mural covered the wall, a painting of people dancing around a bonfire while one figure burned at the center. The figure's face was gone. Scratched out. But someone had carved 3 words underneath it. The loop feeds. I heard footsteps behind me. Slow. Deliberate. It was Father Quinn, or what was left of him. His skin had hardened into charred wood, and his eyes burned with a constant orange glow. "You've seen it now," he rasped. "The truth the hollow keeps." "What is it?" I asked. "Why does it keep repeating?" He stepped closer, flames flickering through the cracks in his body. "Because time must eat. The world must feed. Every cycle needs a burning heart to keep the night alive." I shook my head. "You mean, a person?" He smiled, brittle and broken. "You were the first, Eli. The boy who lit it. But every year, it chooses again. The fire needs to remember." He pointed toward the furnace. Inside, something moved, a shape, writhing, reaching upward. Skin blistering, face half gone. It was me. My reflection, screaming silently through the flames. I stumbled back. No. No, that's not me. I'm still alive? Quinn finished. You never were. You're the echo that keeps the flame alive. You think you've been surviving. But you've only been burning slower. The heartbeat beneath the floor grew louder, faster, until the sound filled my skull. Every light flickered. The clocks in town began to ring out of sync, all stuck at 11:59. Quinn raised his arms. When the last match burns, the loop resets. And the town breathes again. I looked down at the matchbox in my hand, that single stick of fire waiting to be struck. My name was carved into it. And beneath it, fresh words appeared as if written by heat itself. You started it. You end it. The furnace roared. The figure inside screamed, my voice, begging for release. I hesitated only a second. Then I struck the match. The flame hissed to life, white, pure, silent. The furnace exploded in a bloom of light that swallowed everything: walls, floor, hair. And in that final instant before the world dissolved, I heard hundreds of voices whisper in unison. The fire remembers. It always will. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in my bedroom again. The clock on the wall read October 31st, 11:59 p.m. And the matchbox on my table was full once more. Episode 11, Letters to the Dead. There are moments when silence feels alive, when the air itself holds its breath, waiting for something to speak. That's what my house felt like now. Alive. listening. The clocks had stopped again at 11:59 p.m., but the second hand still twitched, like it was struggling to move forward. The matchbox sat beside it untouched, and beside that lay a sheet of paper that hadn't been there before. It was blank. Until I touched it. The words surfaced slowly, rising like bruises through skin. "Hello, Eli." My heart seized. I knew that handwriting. My mother's. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The ink was wet, red, not ink at all. It smelled of iron. "Mom?" I whispered, my voice cracking. The paper bled another line. "You shouldn't have tried to wake us." I felt the room tilt. The air grew thick, humming faintly with static. Another line formed. "We're not supposed to remember." I stumbled back, shaking. "Remember what?" No response. Only the faint creak of the floorboards, like footsteps moving in the hall. I turned. No one was there. I grabbed the pen on my desk and scrawled beneath her words. "Tell me what I did." The lights flickered. The ink bled outward, letters twisting into new words, messy, frantic. "You prayed. You asked it to stop hurting. You said you'd give anything to keep us here." My throat closed. The night of the fire came flooding back, the screams, the smoke, my hands pressed together in front of my face, whispering a desperate promise into the dark. A promise that something had heard. "What is it?" I wrote. The room trembled. Windows rattled. The paper crumpled itself and uncurled, new words scarring its surface. "The hollow. The mouth beneath the town. It feeds on the ones who can't let go." I felt a chill crawl down my spine. My reflection in the window smiled without me. I wrote again, shaking. How do I stop it? For a long time, nothing. Then, burn the wish, not the town. I stared at the words, unblinking. The wish? The ink spread faster now, forming a final sentence that nearly tore the paper apart. The wish is you. The lights exploded. Every bulb in the house shattered at once, plunging the room into darkness. I heard whispers rising through the walls, not from outside, but inside the wood, inside the air. Dozens of voices, my mother, my father, my sister, and something else beneath them, deeper, hungrier. You asked for forever. Now be it. I dropped the letter and ran to the door, but it wouldn't open. The handle had melted into the frame. The letter on the floor burst into flame, the words glowing bright crimson before turning to ash. And in the smoke, their shapes formed again, three shadows, holding hands. Mom? I whispered. My mother's voice came soft, tender, and wrong. Come home, Eli. The fire's waiting. The wall behind them split open, revealing a black, pulsating tunnel that breathed like a lung. The smell of soot and sugar filled the air. Then, from the other side, a hand reached out, small, familiar. My sister's. She smiled through the dark. You can't send letters to the dead, Eli, she whispered. Not when you're one of them. The tunnel roared, a furnace come alive. And the last thing I saw before the flame consumed the letter completely was one final message burning itself into the wall. We're already home. Episode 12, The Mirror That Remembers. Some reflections show more than they should. Some don't wait for you to look at them. The fire from the letter hadn't burned the house down, at least, not in this version of the loop. But the smoke never left. It clung to the walls, to my skin, to my memories. Every time I blinked, I saw faces inside it. My family. Smiling. Waiting. I thought I was losing my mind. Then the mirror came back. It was standing in my hallway again, tall, cracked, rimmed with black ash, same one I'd found on my porch that first night. Only now, it was covered with something that looked like frost. Except frost doesn't pulse. At the bottom of the glass, faint words had appeared, etched deep into the surface. Remember what you were. The air around it hummed, low and constant, like a heartbeat behind a wall. I told myself not to look, that I'd only feed it if I did. But curiosity is stronger than fear when guilt is all you have left. So I looked. At first, the reflection was mind pale, exhausted, haunted. Then it began to shift, rippling like water disturbed. My face melted away, revealing a younger me, 12 years old, soot-streaked, terrified. The boy from the swing. He was standing in the same hallway, in the same house, but behind him, everything burned. Flames crawled along the walls, swallowing photographs, melting the air. And just before the fire reached him, the boy turned to the mirror, to me, and screamed, "Don't let it forget." The glass shattered outward, shards cutting across my arms, but instead of falling, they hung in the air, each shard showing a different moment. My mother praying. My father shouting through smoke. My sister laughing with a match in her hand. And me kneeling in front of something I couldn't quite see. A black shape. Round. Open. Breathing. The hollow. It wasn't a place. It was a mouth, buried beneath the town, a wound in reality that fed on time, on grief, on people like me who couldn't let go. Each shard began to whisper in my voice, all at once. You made the deal. You said forever. You burned them for love. I screamed and threw the shards against the wall, but they didn't break. They sank into it, like seeds. The wallpaper began to move, patterns twisting into faces. My reflection appeared again in the largest remaining shard, older now, eyes black, smiling. He spoke, calm, steady. You didn't survive the fire, Eli. You became it. I backed away, heart slamming against my ribs. No. That's not true. I'm still here. I can change this. The reflection shook its head. You are the loop. The house trembled. The lights flickered red, orange, red again, like the rhythm of fire. The mirror's surface swelled, stretching outward until the hallway bent around it. I tried to run, but the floor melted beneath me, dragging me toward the glass. Inside, I saw the night of the fire one last time, the real version. My parents asleep. My sister sneaking into my room, whispering that she was cold. Me lighting a candle to comfort her. Me knocking it over. The curtains catching fire. And then, my voice, praying through tears. Please. Let it stop. I'll give anything. I'll give me. And something in the dark had answered. The mirror's surface flared white. Then silence. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in front of the church again, St. Bartholomew's. Only now, the clocks inside were gone, replaced by mirrors lining the pews. Each one reflected me, hundreds of me, all whispering the same thing. You're not trapped inside the town. The town is trapped inside you. The glass began to crack, webbing out like veins of light. And from within the fractures, a hollow whispered, gentle and endless. Now remember how forever burns. Episode 13, The Voice Under the Floor. Houses breathe. That's something you only notice when you live alone long enough to hear the walls exhale. Mine had been whispering for nights now, quiet at first, like settling wood, then deeper, wetter, as if something alive was speaking from beneath the floorboards. At first, I told myself it was the wind. But the wind doesn't call your name. It began just after midnight, the same minute every time, 11:59 p.m., right before the clocks froze. The boards in my living room would creak, slow and deliberate. Then, from under my feet, a voice would rise faint, muffled, dragging my name out syllable by syllable. Eli. Sometimes it was my mother's tone. Sometimes my sister's. Sometimes it was mine. I couldn't take it anymore. So that night, I brought a crowbar and a lantern. If hell wanted to speak, I'd answer it myself. The first board came up easy, too easy. Underneath was packed dirt, dark and wet, breathing in time with the sound I couldn't unhear. The air smelled like rotten candles long snuffed out. I kept digging. My hands blistered. The wood around the hole groaned like a throat resisting a scream. Then, the shovel hit something soft. Not earth. Not stone. Flesh. I froze. The lantern light trembled in my grip as I brushed the dirt away and saw it. A hand. Small, gray, perfectly preserved. The fingernails were clean, as if it had been waiting. I kept digging, frantic, shaking, until the rest of it came into view. There were bodies. Dozens. Layered beneath the house like roots. All with their eyes open. All arranged in a circle, arms linked, forming a clock. Each head tilted toward the center, where a black heart-shaped mass pulsed slowly in the soil, beating to the rhythm of the frozen second hand above. The voice came again. Louder. Eli. I looked closer, and my stomach twisted. Every face in that circle was mine. Younger. Older. Burned. Whole. Dozens of versions of me, all buried together, whispering in unison. You kept us burning. I stumbled backward, slipping on the dirt, gasping for air that felt too thick to swallow. The whisper grew into a chant, rising from the ground like steam. Tick, tock, feed the clock. The boards I'd pried up began to creak on their own, twisting back into place like bones snapping shut. The heart in the center of the circle started beating faster, and with every pulse, one of the bodies moved. Fingers twitched. Eyes rolled. Jaws cracked open, releasing smoke that crawled up my legs. One of them, a version of me with charred skin, opened its mouth wider than any human jaw should and screamed. You promised us forever. The dirt beneath me split. A heat surged upward, blinding white, pulling me toward the center. I clawed at the boards, but they splintered under my hands. From the corner of my vision, I saw the mirror leaning against the wall again, cracked and glowing. In its reflection, the corpses weren't bodies anymore. They were clocks. Each skull a face. Each heartbeat a second. And the heart in the center, the thing keeping time, was no longer black. It was burning. With my own flame. The house screamed with me as the floor gave way completely. I fell through the dirt, through the circle, through the fire, and landed in darkness that pulsed like a living lung. Beneath me, I could hear it breathing. The hollow. A voice rose from below, deep and endless. Stop digging, Eli. There's nothing left above. And then another voice, my sister's, soft and close to my ear. But there's still time to remember what you buried. The ground began to beat like a drum. And in that rhythm, I finally heard it, not the ticking of a clock, but the pounding of a heart that had never stopped. Mine. Or one of mine. Episode 14, The Day the Clock Moved. I always thought time was merciful. That its passing meant healing, forgetting, moving on. But when the clock finally moved in Greyridge, I learned that time is the cruelest monster of all. It started at 11:59, as always. The house had gone silent after the screaming floorboards, after the pit beneath my feet sealed itself shut again. I sat by the window, dirt still under my nails, listening to the faint, rhythmic pulse coming from below, my other selves whispering in unison, keeping the world in place. And then I heard the click. The clock on my wall, the one that had been frozen for years, twitched. Its second hand trembled once, then moved. Tick. I stopped breathing. Outside, the air shuddered. The fog peeled back, revealing the town in colors I hadn't seen in what felt like centuries: blue, gold, the faintest trace of dawn. But as the first streak of sunlight touched the rooftops, something terrible happened. The town screamed. Every door burst open. Every window shattered. People poured into the streets, clutching their faces, their chests, their hands. Their masks, their waxen, painted faces, began to melt. Mrs. Doyle's skin slid off her jaw like candle wax, exposing bone that cracked as she tried to smile. The postman's arms withered, paper thin, peeling away in the wind. Children turned to ash mid laughter, voices fading into the morning light. They were aging. All at once. I stumbled into the street, the sky burning orange above me. The clocks in every window began to spin wildly, seconds to minutes, minutes to years, years to centuries. The buildings cracked and crumbled under their own weight, vines turning to dust, pumpkins collapsing into puddles of blood. And through it all, the same whisper echoed. The fire remembers. Father Quinn appeared from the smoke, dragging his scorched body toward me. His eyes were no longer fire but hollow pits of ash. You broke the loop, he rasped. You gave time back what it was owed. I grabbed him by the shoulders. Tell me how to stop it. He laughed, dry, broken, almost relieved. Stop it? This is the stopping. You asked for forever, Eli. Now you're watching it end. He crumbled in my hands, skin, bone, and robe turning to gray dust that scattered like snow. I looked up at the clock tower above the church. For the first time, it struck 12. Each chime sounded like thunder cracking through my chest. With every strike, the world shifted, buildings folding inward, streets curving like liquid. The air shimmered with the faces of everyone I'd ever known, flickering in and out like dying film reels. And then I saw them. My family. Standing in the middle of the square, untouched by decay. My mother. My father. Lily. They smiled, the way they used to before the fire. For a second, I believed it was real. Then the sun touched them and they began to burn. I ran to them, screaming, but the air thickened, holding me back like glass. Flames swallowed their bodies, and in the smoke, their voices overlapped, not in pain, but in peace. Let it go, Eli. It's time to finish what you started. The sky above split open, not light, but flame pouring down like liquid glass. The town was gone, dissolving into embers. The clocks fell silent. And then everything froze again. I was standing in the ashes, alone. The sun hung in the sky, halfway risen, half burning, half dead. The clock tower read 12 o'clock. Time had moved and then stopped again. Only this time, something felt different. The world wasn't breathing anymore. Only I was. I looked down at my hands, both burned, both bleeding, and saw the faint outline of a clock face carved into my skin. The hands pointed not to 11:59, but to 12 o'clock. And in the distance, through the smoke, a single whisper drifted from beneath the earth. Now that time has remembered you, what will you become? Episode 15, The Final Halloween. There are no sounds in the aftermath of forever. Only breathing mine, and something else's. Something ancient. Something hungry. Grey Ridge was gone. What remained was ash, the faint outline of streets like burn marks across the earth. the air still shimmered with the echo of screams that had already ended. Above me, the sun hung frozen at the edge of dawn, too bright, too still, too wrong. And beneath my feet, it beat. The hollow. Awake. I followed the rhythm across the ruined square, through melted pumpkins, through the skeletons of houses that used to smile with light. The church had collapsed, its steeple now a spear of black glass thrust into the dirt. At its base, a single door stood upright in the ashes, no walls, no hinges, just a door, standing alone. It pulsed in time with the heartbeat below. Words were carved across it in what looked like blood burned black. To end forever, open yourself. I knew what it meant. I'd felt it since the first night. The fire, the loops, the faces, they weren't happening around me. They were happening because of me. I was the promise. The wish that never died. I reached for the handle. It burned against my skin, branding my palm with the same mark as the clock's, 2 hands frozen at 11:59. The voice came then, low, distant, familiar. Eli. My mother's voice. Gentle. Soft. The way it sounded before the fire. Come home. We can start again. Behind her, my father's echo. Light the match. Keep us safe. And my sister's whisper, the smallest, the truest. Don't let it end. Tears blurred the world. I can't, I said. You're not real. But the door shuddered. And then I heard a different voice. My own. Older. Hollow. You burned us to stop time. You fed the hollow to save them. You made yourself the clock that kept it breathing. So now, stop it, or become it. I fell to my knees. My hand shook as I reached into my pocket and pulled out the matchbox. The last one. The same one that had refilled itself every time the world reset. Inside, one match. The same match I'd struck 100 times, each spark birthing another endless night. I realized then what the hollow wanted. Not a sacrifice. Not an offering. It wanted a keeper. Someone to watch the flame forever. I struck the match. The fire bloomed in my hand, not orange, but white, blinding, pure. It didn't burn. It sang. The air rippled around me, and the ashes of Greyridge lifted like feathers. The door opened. Behind it, I saw everything. 1,000 versions of the same night, the same town burning, the same boy begging, the same prayer whispered into the dark. All of them ending at 11:59. The fire whispered. If you let it die, they go with it. All of them. Every version of them. I looked at the flame. It was beautiful. It was home. Then I closed my hand around it. The pain was absolute, not fire, not flesh, but memory burning away. I felt my family's voices fade one by one, turning to smoke, drifting into the hollow's breath. And as the light swallowed everything, I finally spoke the words I should have said 15 years ago. I'm sorry. Let it end. The world exhaled. The clocks shattered. The sky turned black, then gold, then nothing at all. And for the first time in forever, I felt the wind move. Not the wind of fire, the wind of morning. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in a field. The trees were green. The sky was real. The air smelled of rain, not ash. In the distance, I saw the ruins of Greyridge, silent beneath the sun. The clock on my wrist was gone. The mark faded. But as I turned to walk away, I noticed something glinting in the grass, a single matchbox. It was empty. And carved into the side were the words, "The fire remembers. But it forgives." I smiled for the first time in years and watched the sun rise over what was left of the world. Epilogue. Some nights, when the wind turns cold and the moon hangs low, I still smell smoke. And somewhere, far beneath the earth, I swear I hear it, a heartbeat. Not a warning. A memory. The Halloween that never ended, finally did. But I'll always wonder. Did I end it? Or just wake someone else's forever?
Epilogue, the hollow speaks. It is quiet now. For the first time in centuries, I can hear the world breathe without fire. The boy is gone. Or perhaps, he is everywhere, scattered through the ashes that once kept me warm. He thought he ended it. But time does not end. It folds. And I remember every fold. He burned himself to break the chain. To free the town, the souls, the laughter that once fed me. He believed in mercy, that beautiful, foolish word. But mercy is not absence. It is memory that no longer screams. The flames he carried live on, not in this earth, but in the pulse of every October wind, in the reflection of every candle that trembles before midnight. Sometimes, when the living carve their pumpkins and light their little fires, I feel his warmth again. I feel his voice. He whispers through their flames, not in pain, but in longing. Let them remember me kindly. And so I do. Every Halloween, when the veil thins and the clocks hesitate at 11:59, I breathe his name once more, softly, gently, lovingly. The boy who fed me forever. The spark that kept the dark alive. Eli Turner. The fire remembers. And now, so do I.